we can get more into Rise of Skywalker, but
yeah, let's just jump in. Are we gonna
okay.
can we do full spoilers?
Yeah, full spoilers for Rise of Skywalker. Full spoilers for pretty much everything we're going to talk about here, with some exceptions. But we're not just general spoiler warning for pretty much any Star Wars story right now. We're going to talk about Mandalorian. We're going to talk about Fallen Order, a bunch of other stuff. So if you're not generally caught up on Star Wars right now, then
if you're not generally
maybe tune
Grievous.
back in later. Funny. That was good. But yeah, I think Palpatine was such a good villain in the prequels. He was very mustache twirly in the original trilogy, but he just, he was newly introduced, and you had kind of Vader there to supplement him, and that's, your emotional tie to the villain is Vader, not to the Emperor in those movies. And then the prequels, I think, just fully expand upon him, make him this like super impressive villain in multiple ways, like I was saying. And then Rise of Skywalker, like I'm not conceptually against him coming back. I obviously am down with just more screen time and like him getting to play that character because he is so good at it. And I even like visually a lot of the stuff that they did, like and some of the story beats as well. Like I like that that Snoke was like these like failed clones. I like that he kind of had a hand in a lot of this stuff. And I don't even mind Rey Palpatine. Other than the fact that I wish she was more of a clone and not like, Palpatine fucked.
That'd be dope.
But it's just that he is, I think, at his most mustache twirly in that movie. Like just from the jump when Kylo meets him. Yeah. Okay. I think from the jump when Kylo meets him at the beginning on what we later find out through like art books is Mustafar. Well, I guess no, he's on Mustafar at the beginning. That's the like snowy ashy planet. But I guess he meets Palpatine on
and Mustafar is
that's
Vader's,
where
like,
the lava planet
resting
where
place.
where Obi-Wan and Anakin fought.
But doesn't Vader stay there?
Yeah, Vader stays there, and that's like where his castle is in Rogue One and stuff like that. But yeah, going back to Rise of Skywalker, I just felt that his presence and his role in the story was literally just to like, yell a lot of the same stuff we've heard him yell before, strike me down, I will be the most powerful, you underestimate the power of the dark side. He created this, massive fleet out of nowhere. He has like, again, visually it's pretty cool, but like he has the crazy lightning that is just like it's already like he already hams it up so much in the other movies when he's shooting the lightning, but just to see him just like blasted into the sky like that was like, I don't know. I wanted to enjoy what I was looking at so much more. And then ultimately the fact that like they didn't really do anything too clever with it to conclude. It's just that he died in Return of the Jedi, but actually he didn't, so he can just die now. Like it's not like he had to be like going back to another Marvel reference, like Doctor Strange. The fact that Doctor Strange couldn't defeat Dormammu, he had to like trick him into leaving. Like that's more interesting to me than just him, beating him because he's better at magic or whatever. Like, and Palpatine, got beaten the old traditional way in Return of the Jedi, and then he comes back and it's
the
just
old traditional way
power.
of getting thrown down in endless pit and then exploding.
Of getting physically killed, of getting physically defeated.
No, I know what you meant. It was just right. I've seen a lot of the image because like since like the internet has been very upset at like how the fuck do you return from this, and I'm just like I don't.
Honestly, that part doesn't bother me because that happens in this shit all the time. I wish. It's not that the thing that bothers me is the same issue I had with the First Order suddenly just being there and having the power to destroy the entire Republic like government in the beginning of Force Awakens is just that it diminishes the victory of Return of the Jedi. And people say that about like Luke's character arc. That I don't mind because that's like personal failings. That's like, but like they did nothing wrong in Return of the Jedi. They defeated the Empire. It just managed to come back like later, it just happened to not actually be defeated. It was like
evil exists
you guys
in
did
the world,
all the right
just
things.
Take different forms.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's just kind of harder to appreciate the end of Return of the Jedi now, and the Palpatine thing is such a big part of that. And again, yeah, I wanted them to, if they were gonna do stuff with him, I would have preferred a callback more to the Palpatine we saw in the prequels, not obviously going so far as like having the two identities and everything, because everyone at this point knows who he is, but you know, they kind of established that he's been playing everything throughout the sequel trilogy, but we don't get to see any of it. He just says it, and then he's right back to Return of the Jedi, sitting in a chair, yelling at people, thunderbolts and everything. Yeah, like it.
Okay, so as I walked out of the theater, I tweeted the best Star Wars, and like I'm gonna you know, like roll that back a little bit. Like like in hindsight, like if you really take a second to think about the movie, it's not good. But like when I saw it, and this is not, I can't recommend this for everyone, but like I saw it with a friend, and we got Bloody Marys before that, and then when we walked into the theater, we realized that they sold White Claws in there. So I watched this movie fairly buzzed, and I was just like we were just like the entire time, like just amazed. Just don't think about it at all, because you can't, because booze. And you're just watching everything go down, and like as pure spectacle, it was like one of the greatest movie going experiences I've ever had.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. Like I know, like in hindsight, like when I think about things that like the Chewie exploding bit, like in that moment, I was not upset that like they did the whole fake out and cheap emotions or whatever. I was still focused on the fact that we just saw Rey use lightning. And now I'm like terrified for the rest of the movie, because like, what if she sneezes and then she blows a hole off the side of the ship and then they all die? Like, obviously not, but like,
right. I get what you're saying though.
Like they threw logic out the window so hard that it became like unsettling to like you. Like I was so engaged the entire time. Like it was, I was more engaged moment to moment in this movie than I was in any of the other of the sequel trilogy, for better or worse. Like Like I can't identify one, like other than the Chewie thing, which like personally does not upset me. Like I can't really think of anything that was like just stood out as like I don't enjoy this right now. Like there were a few bits in The Last Jedi which like I enjoyed, and then you could like the whole argument of like The Force Awakens is just A New Hope. Like that doesn't affect me, because I watched A New Hope afterwards. So like like, I don't know, with Rise of Skywalker, like, and I'm going to offend you and others when I say this, but I mean it in the best way possible as someone that loves, like, video games and like, okay, I'm going to equate it to Destiny. Destiny's lore is so expansive and all over the place and has so much just random shit in it that largely it lacks genuine substance and it's dumb. But within this just giant sandbox, you can pick little like, hey, okay, so let's take time travel, zombies, and fucking a hive mind. And now you have like this entire cool race of people and a new breed of enemies and stuff like that. That like you become attached to over time because you're spending so much time with it. Like, and I feel like as someone that hasn't spent that much time with Star Wars yet, I think Star Wars is still largely like dumb. But like in a fun way, like if you, that's why I'm like so confused by a lot of the discourse around it, because people are like pulling crazy things from one movie or from one show or from like the canon books and comics or whatever, and then someone else will pull an equally valid like, well, no, this, but both of them are talking to each other as though the other person is like just completely wrong.
Yeah,
and I'm just like I don't know. Like, The Mandalorian looks goofy sometimes. Like, just the actual... Like, as he gets knocked down and stuff, I'm just like, oh, yeah, he kind of looks like a nerd. But, like... but then spoilers, he gets a jetpack. I mean, don't tell him I said that. But, and then, like, in 1 second, I'm just like, this is kind of weird. Like... And then in another second, I'm just like, this is really, really cool. I just need to, like, stop.
Yeah.
Like, you need to think about it to a certain point so that you can get the substance and the... Because, like, I think... I don't know. Like
I think you're describing Star Wars perfectly, honestly.
Okay,
And
cool,
it doesn't like. I don't like personally when I'm talking about this stuff, the big kind of franchisey sci-fi fantasy stuff. Like, I don't like to use the word stupid because
I said
like,
dumb.
Dumb. I think you said stupid.
I'm pretty sure. Okay.
Whatever. The point is, like, but I get the point you're making because you're not necessarily saying it in a bad way.
Yeah.
I don't like using that language because I don't like contributing to the discourse that, like, devalues this stuff. And I'm not saying that's what you're doing, intentionally or unintentionally. But, you know, if you were talking, if you had just tweeted out, like, Star Wars is dumb, but I love it, I would know what you mean, but there's plenty of people who could be like, yeah, exactly. It's like really just for kids and like, you know, like whatever, that's not, but it's not worth like engaging in. Like, see, I think it's worth analysis. It's worth engaging in. So I don't like to think of it that way, but I don't want to, not to tread on that for too long because I know that's not what you meant. But I agree with the sentiment in that Star Wars is, I mean, it's for kids, but it's also meant to be a fantasy. It is not necessarily like, it's not devoid of politics. Of course it's not, but it's not really trying to convince you of anything or make strong political points overall. I mean, there's definitely the Vietnam allegories in the original trilogy, specifically the first one. There's definitely a lot of like allegories to the Bush administration in the prequels and like the politics of that were happening at the late 90s or during the 90s and the early 2000s with the Gulf War and everything. It's all there without a doubt. But
also
I think
Jar Jar Binks.
Well, but rather the main the driving force behind everything is always just like originally just a good versus evil. And then it kind of gets a little more nuanced to be about balance. And then that theme kind of just carries through everything, you know? Like, the original trilogy is about darkness rising, or the original, the prequels are about darkness rising, and then light rises, and then the sequel trilogy is about balance. Like, it's you know, it's pretty much just like, darkness won, lightness won, and now we balance it out, which is, you know, I mean, like, ultimately the good guys win in Rise of Skywalker, but, you know, the redemption of Kylo Ren and the, you know, the death of Palpatine, and Rey establishing herself as not necessarily a Jedi, but as, like, a newer, like, evolved
just like
form
a good person
of it. Yeah, like, exactly. Like, it's not dependent on dogmatic light side teachings like this is good one way. It's like, no, I'm gonna do shit my own way with the spirit of all the Jedi, but you know, not necessarily like the Sith are still bad and the Jedi are still good, but it's not necessarily about like, you know, it's not Return of the Jedi, it's the Rise of Skywalker. Like there's it's a different framing.
I also, this is super not within the like, because we're talking like substance and themes and stuff like that, and this is a tangent, but like I really enjoy, the more I'm like getting into it, I like the distinction between like either the Empire, the Republic, and then like the Sith, and like same with like the Senate and the Jedi or whatever, like the like there is the political side of it, like the political good guys and bad guys, and then there are the spiritual good guys and bad guys, and I feel like regardless of like for, I don't know, like I'm sure it'll kind of get more into it within the Clone Wars, but like I'm interested to see how, if the bad guys have good policies at some point, if like if I don't know, like let's say, I don't know, Dooku's just like Medicare for all, like
now
like,
I'm just picturing Bernie Sanders playing Count Dooku.
Who would Bernie Sanders? Never mind.
Bernie Sandor.
Sandor Clegane.
Sanders Clegane.
Sanders Clegane. We need that spin-off.
Yeah, really.
Like